Welcome to episode 3 of Beezy's Stream of Consciousness podcast, courtesy of Spotify. Today is Tuesday, May 21st, 2024, and I'm Beezy, your humble neophyte host, and we're broadcasting live from Starbase One studio. Today's show is brought to you courtesy of Jeep Girl Mafia and Carnival Cruise Lines. Carnival Cruise Lines, choose fun. First off, quick update. Yesterday's show was delayed because the lovely and talented Susan took ill with the vapors. We're expecting complete recovery soon, lest we forget. We have lots to cover today, so stay with me for the next hour or so as we relive the events of the past couple of days and discuss Jeeps, cruising, and music. And we had big fun this weekend at the Rangers-Angels game on Sunday. Even though the result was disappointing, it was a 4-1 loss to the Angels. But we had most of the family there. The Romeos, of course, are still in Italy. They're coming back tonight. We'll be picking them up. They're actually in the air as I'm airing this, flying somewhere across the Atlantic. So we'll see them later tonight. But we had everybody else there. It was me, Susan, Barbarossa, Sweet Baby James, X, the Davises, Mr. and Dr. Davis, and little Estelle. And Estelle did great. She's so cute, and she made it through about 7 innings, and then started to get a little feisty and wanted to take her nap. So anyway, that worked out well. It was a lot of fun. Had some drinks, had some chicken tenders and some peanuts, and it was a Rangers yearbook weekend, so the first 15 or 20,000 people got a Ranger yearbook. So I got a bunch of those on hand here, and I always loved to get those when I was a kid, back when the Rangers weren't any good, but really enjoy reading the bios on the players and just seeing everything about the franchise. It's really a lot of fun. So I'm glad we were able to do that. That event was made possible by Susan's involvement with Jeep Girl Mafia, who's one of our sponsors of today's show. They don't know that, but they are. And so, anyway, we got a lot to talk about. So we got some more sports to go over, and we'll peel the onion back on the Dallas Stars and the Dallas Mavericks. We're also going to talk. We're going to talk music. We're going to talk Jeeps. We're going to talk cruising. So we got a lot to cover. So let's get down to it. Well, I believe it was Meatloaf who sang that 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And that's the way it was this weekend in the sports scene. While the Rangers lost, the Stars and the Mavs won. The Stars defeated the Colorado Avalanche in Game 6, and they advanced to the Western Conference Final versus Edmonton Oilers at the AAC Thursday night. Stars are playing very, very well, and expecting great things from them. Great young team. Actually, I was listening to an interview with Tyler Sagan today, their veteran center, and it's hard to believe I say veteran. I remember when he was drafted years and years and years ago, but he's one of the graybeards on that team, and he was talking about all the young guys and the not-so-young guys and how they really have a complete roster. So we're really looking forward to that, and so the puck drops Thursday night. The Mavs advanced to their Western Conference Finals in the NBA, and they will face off again, or not face off, but they'll meet the Minnesota Timberwolves this week, and so we're expecting great things from them as well. And so, like I said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. We'll take it. Hopefully, our Rangers, our heroes in Arlington, will start righting that ship. I don't know what it's going to take other than to get some of their injured guys back. It's tough when you're playing your backup DH, backup third baseman, and backup right fielder, and we just couldn't really generate any offense. And when you can't do that, you can't overcome the miscues in the field and issues with the pitching staff. So we wish them luck against Philadelphia tonight. They're playing the Phillies. The Phillies are numero uno in the majors right now. So it's going to be a tough series. We'll see what happens. So stay tuned. Our other sponsor today is Carnival Cruise Lines, and the reason for that is cruising is Susan's and my vacation of choice now. We've been cruising for several years. We've only cruised on Carnival, although there are several other cruise lines out there, Norwegian, Royal, Princess, which is owned by Carnival, and Viking and Windjammers, and there's just a bunch of cruise companies out there. But we've been cruising on Carnival. It's the best value for us. It's affordable, and so in the old days when I was growing up, a lot of families would take road trips. They'd pile everybody up in the family car, and they'd go off to the mountains or the Big Bend National Park or down to Padre Island or out to the lake or whatever. And a lot of people still do that, but for our annual trips, we cruise, and we really enjoy it. I know cruising gets a bad rap a lot of times. People they fear the cost, they fear seasickness, they're uncomfortable being on the water, they're uncomfortable being on a ship in close quarters with a lot of other people. So I wanted to talk about some of those things and address them and talk up the positives. The first is the value for the dollar. A cruise is if you take a cruise and look at everything that you're paying for, and then take a trip where you have to fly somewhere, you have to take you're taking a road trip. There's going to be a hotel involved, unless you're camping, and then there's a nominal camping fee. But hotel, meals, attractions, gas, maybe a rent car if you fly there, airfare, and so forth. So when you add it all up, a cruise is a pretty good value, especially for everything that you're getting. You get all the food that you can eat, and it's good food. It's varied, it's in quantity, and it's great. I mean, Carnival now has, in addition to their dining room where you can do your C-Day brunch or do your evening meals. I mean, they've got Guy's Burger Joint. That's Guy Fieri. They've now got Shaq's Big Chicken. Shaquille O'Neal now has a chicken joint that he's got on the ships as well as on land. We've got one fixing to open here in North Fort Worth. Should be open here in about 45 days. Really looking forward to that. And then there's sushi if you like that. There's steakhouse. There's an Italian place. There's the buffet. There's a seafood joint. There's several other restaurants, and for the most part, they're included. The steakhouse is extra. Hibachi is extra. But the buffet, the dining room, which is the truth of the matter is all the food comes out of the same kitchen or galley, as us sailors call it. So, drink whatever you drink. If you're into coffee, they've got coffee bars. If you don't do alcohol, then you can get it's called the Bubbles package, and that gets you all the fizzy drinks you can drink. And then for those of us who do occasionally enjoy an adult beverage, there's what they call the Cheers package, which includes up to 15 adult beverages or milkshakes or specialty coffees a day. And if you're drinking more than that, then you probably need an intervention. There are shows. They have Vegas style shows in the theater every night, and they're great shows put on by professional entertainers, dancers, singers, and they're all very good. There's something for everybody there. They've got trivia all the time. There's dancing. There are clubs on board. There's a piano bar on board. Of course, there's the casino, so there's plenty of gambling once you're out in open water. You get the exciting ports of call. Depending on the length of your cruise, you're going to be hitting either 2 or 3 of those. We've pretty much stayed in the Gulf, so we've done Western Caribbean, we've done Eastern Caribbean, we've done the islands off of Florida, we've done Cozumel, we've done Belize, we've done Honduras, we've done Medina. Um, get all the sun that you want, and it's just it's great. I'm a frustrated sailor, so I love being on the water. I love being on the ship. Um, some people don't like that, and I'll pause right here and just say I understand cruising's not for everybody. Um, some people they just don't like it, and I get that, and that's cool. As the French say, "Vive la différence." But this is my show, my podcast, so I'm going to talk about the things I like. So, um, as far as our own cruising, like I said, we've been up and down through Central America, Mexico. Um, we generally sail out of Galveston or New Orleans. We have sailed. Our first sailing was out of Miami. That was the one back on the old celebration back in '89. So, but ever since then, we've either cruised out of Galveston. They've got nice big cruise terminal down there. Um, Ships are leaving, coming and going all the time. I love Galveston, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people don't care for Galveston. They think the beach isn't all that. Listen, folks, I don't go to Galveston for the beach. It's a quaint little island. It's quiet. It's got some great restaurants, great Tex-Mex. Really have a good time when I go down there. So again, not for everybody, but it's a great place to cruise out of. New Orleans is also a great place to cruise out of. The cruise terminal's right there on the river, right across from Algiers, and the once you board the ship backs away from the pier. It actually has to swap ends because then it has to go back down river, which is an 8 or 9 hour trip to get to the mouth of the Mississippi from New Orleans. I don't know if a lot of people knew that. I like that. Again, my people are from down there, so I like seeing the swamps and the bayous and all of that. So that's a fun trip for me. And of course, staying in New Orleans, that goes without saying. That's a lot of fun as well. So anyway, cruising is a great vacation opportunity. If you haven't done it, I strongly recommend it. If you're concerned about various facets or aspects of cruising, I invite you to go to YouTube. There's lots of channels that talk about cruising. Susan has the Boating Baileys. It's got some good content on there. She walks you through all the aspects of the cruising, getting ready for it, making the trip down to Galveston, staying in Galveston, getting on the ship, the boarding process, which is very easy now, and then all the things to do on board, and then coming home. So look that up. There's several other channels, several other crazy cruisers, I call them, like myself. But they've got really good information there. So if you haven't done it, you're curious about it, go to YouTube, look that stuff up. If you are a fellow cruiser, it's great. We love you. We hope to see you again on board soon. Just bear in mind, Susan and I are not pineapple people, so keep those pineapples upright. And so let's move on to the next thing. Next up, Rush. Who is Rush? Well, Rush is or was a Canadian power trio. 3 guys from Canada, from Toronto, Canada, that play hard rock, progressive rock, concept rock. It was originally formed in 1968. Alex Lifeson and 2 of his high school friends went through a few iterations until one of his buddies couldn't get a ride to a gig. So he looked up his friend Gary Weinrib, and Gary's mother, her accent was so thick, she would trill the R in Gary, and she would call him Getty, and his middle name was Lee, and that became his stage name, Getty Lee. That we know him today as virtuoso bass player, keyboardist, and vocalist for Rush. So Getty appears, replaced Jones, the gentleman, the boy who couldn't get a ride to the gig, and so that's how he joined the band. The third member, John Rutsey, was another friend of Alex. He was the drummer, um, and he had health problems, and it became increasingly difficult for him to tour. He was diabetic, and because either for whatever reason he kept having to miss dates, miss gigs, and was in and out of the hospital taking care of his diabetes. So they decided if they were going to be professional that they couldn't move forward with him. So they replaced him, and they auditioned several drummers to be his replacement until a tall, lanky kid in a Pinto pulled up to their audition, opened up the hatch, pulled out a bunch of garbage cans, and that's where his drums were in the cans. And he set up and he started playing, and they were reminded of Ginger Baker of Cream and um, Bonzo Bonham of Led Zeppelin and some others, and they decided that they had found their drummer. He was frenetic, he was energetic, and they also found out that he was a bookworm. And when he wasn't drumming, wasn't riding his motorcycle, he had a book in his hand. And they decided that Alex and Getty wanted to concentrate on arrangements and music, and so they turned the lyrical portion of their songs over to Neil, and that proved to be a winning combination. So um, their first album, self-titled Rush, featuring Rutsey on drums, was moderate success in their hometown of Toronto, but a DJ in Cleveland picked up on it and started playing um, the uh, the single off of it, "Working Man," which resonated with the blue collar people in Cleveland, and so then that became a minor hit here in the United States, and they were able to sign a 3-record deal with Mercury, and um, then Fly By Night came out. That was their second album, first with Neil Peart behind the kit and writing the lyrics, and of course the title track "Fly By Night" became a commercial success. The third album, "Caress of Steel," was a concept album which did not do well commercially and got them in a little bit of trouble with their label, and the label wanted them to write more commercial type music, and they didn't necessarily want to do that. So their fourth album is titled 2112, and the first, the side one, is all a concept. It's a story of a dystopian society where there are these priests of Syrinx who control all aspects of everyone's life. They've forgotten their music. They've forgotten their art. Um, the protagonist of the song um, discovers a musical instrument, a guitar. He teaches himself how to play it. He's entranced with it. He goes to the priests and shows it to them, thinking that they will be approving of it. They weren't. And he goes into a funk and ultimately takes his life. But it's great music. It's a very interesting story, and that album 2112 ended up putting Rush on the map, at least in the prog rock scene. And so they you can take their discography, their catalog, from the first album in 1974 until their last in 2015, and you can kind of bust it up into 4 album chunks. Um, they started out hard rock, again, Led Zeppelin, Cream, The Who, Deep Purple. Those were their influences when they were growing up, those guys. And so their early music incorporated a lot of those aspects, but then they decided that they wanted to go more of a progressive route, like Yes, like early Genesis, King Crimson, and so they incorporated more progressive aspects into their movie, into their songs. Sorry. Um, so they moved from that heavy sound to the prog rock sound, and their middle albums, well, not middle, but the next chunk of albums, Farewell to Kings, um, and Hemispheres, those two, again, more concept oriented, less single oriented. Um, but then in 1980, with Permanent Waves, they um, they decided to write um, shorter songs that were a little bit punchier as far as being radio friendly, and the big single off of that album was, of course, "The Spirit of Radio," which is a great song, but it's a staple on classic rock stations. Has been since 1980, 43 years, and was a staple of their shows, a fan favorite. So that kind of established them more. I hate to say mainstream because they never consider themselves mainstream, but more FM radio friendly. Their next album, Moving Pictures, came out in 1981, and that was the album that put them on the map um, with people that weren't necessarily hardcore Rush people or not necessarily hardcore prog rock people. And I mean, it from top to bottom, every every track on the album is strong. Uh, it starts off uh, with Limelight, Red Barchetta, YYZ, Tom Sawyer. I think I got those backwards. The Camera Eye, Witch Hunt, and um, Vital Signs. I mean, great album, and really gave them the bona fides that they enjoyed in that larger audience that wasn't quite so. Um, I don't know what the word is, but um, if I can use the word quirky, and became they became more mainstream from there. So the 80s were more of a synth period for them. They were always experimenting with their sounds. They were always looking at finding ways to um, keep their sound fresh and maybe not reinventing their sound, but their sound always evolved. You can hear it in Alex's guitars, the effects that he would use, the sounds he would use. You can pick up different influences. Um, he was also a trained classical guitarist. He took that up as a teenager, and you can see that influence all throughout their music. But his all the different effects and different voices um, with his guitars. Getty, in addition to being the vocalist and the bassist, he was their keyboardist. So he was a busy guy with every song. If he was playing the bass with his hands, he was using his Taurus pedals to play the bass while he was singing, and then vice versa. If he was playing his keyboards, he was playing his Moog pedals to play the bass parts and so forth. And of course, Neil is considered one of the top three, if not the greatest rock drummer of all time. His sound always was evolving. I mean, he had these massive kits that incorporated all, in addition to the traditional toms and um, uh, snare and kicks. I mean, he incorporated a glockenspiel, tubular bells, crotales, timbales, um, wind chimes. I mean, everything in that middle period. And then in the mid '80s, he started incorporating electronic percussion, Simmons pads, and and then evolved into other things and replaced his glockenspiel with the mallet cat, so that his drums had all kinds of different voices, and his drum solos were legendary in his live shows and on the live albums. So in the 90s, they were considered to be at the top of their game when tragedy struck. Neil Peart's daughter Selena um, was commuting either to or from college up in Canada, and had a one-car accident, and was killed in the accident. And then within a year, his wife Jackie uh, died of an illness. So he lost both his daughter and his wife in less than a year. And at his wife's funeral, he announced to his bandmates to consider him retired. So he got on his motorcycle and just drove off, and ended up putting 55,000 miles on his bike across North America, um, just driving, stopping in diners, staying in motels, observing as he was very good at doing, reading and so forth. Would occasionally send postcards to his bandmates to let him know that he was okay, um, and he did that for years. And finally, he approached his friends again and said he would like to consider unretiring, or at least giving it a try. And so they did, and in I believe it was 1996, they came out with Vapor Trails, which, um, other than a couple of tracks, at least to this humble reporter, it was less than memorable. But there were a couple of good tracks on there, Earthshine and Ghost Rider, about his travels. So, but it was good. That got them reestablished. But then in the next few years, they really hit their strides as I mean the um, as rockers that had their own sound. They were not imitative, although you could tell the influences of specific periods. Um, what was popular at a particular time might weave its way into the tapestry of their music, but it was not. They weren't copycats by any stretch of the imagination. Their catalog became so extensive that they would ended up foregoing an opening act when they went live, and they would play for 3 hours. It was called An Evening with Rush. That's the way the tickets were sold. Their last album was called Clockwork Angels, and in many ways, it it was the penultimate, or it was the ultimate Rush album. If it The three tracks that were my favorites are the Anarchist, Carnies, and Bu to Be, and just a great album. I mean, the energy, the production values, the lyrics, um, the whole album is excellent. Um, Neil wrote the lyrics as an entire story. In fact, he did a novelization of the entire album, but each album, or each song, each track stands on its own. So just you can listen to the Anarchist, and you can it tells the story of this person, the Anarchist, who also has a piece of the larger story. So if you're familiar with the entire album or the novelization, you know who he is. But even if you listen to the song, it still tells the story. So really, really great album. Um, they were ultimately inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, um, where Alex very famously, his acceptance speech was a series of blahs. He got up and instead of thanking the Academy and all of the little people that got him where he is, the boilerplate stuff, he just got up and went blah 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 blah, much to the consternation of his bandmates. Quite funny. So, but then they did retire. Alex started to develop arthritis, and it was very difficult for him to do 3-hour shows. Neil he had remarried, had a young daughter, and decided that at some point he wanted to call it quits. So they did. Unfortunately, we lost Neil in January of 2020. He had very privately been dealing with brain cancer and succumbed to that. His bandmates have not been idle. Um, Alex has joined another band called Envy of None. But if you listen to their music, which is quite good, by the way, but it's very different. Um, don't expect the Alex Lifeson chords starting to the songs. In fact, Alex went out of his way to tell everybody that he wanted the guitars on that album to not sound like guitars, and they don't. So and he's very good at giving guitars different voices. So he did that this time around. Getty has been busy as well. He's a published author. He published the Big Beautiful Book of Bass. It's a great book. It's a coffee table book. It catalogs all of his guitar collection, his bass guitar collection. I have a copy here. It's just it's a beautiful book, beautiful photography, very compelling descriptions and so forth. So, and then he also published his autobiography called My Effin' Life, and he is currently on tour promoting that. So he also played bass at Yes's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. He played it on Roundabout, and it was really he was replacing Chris Squire for that song because Chris had passed away. He was the bassist for Yes and one of the founding members. But when they finally got their due, they were looking around for someone to play Roundabout at the induction ceremony, and Getty got the call. So it was neat seeing him out there with all the other guys. I mean, all those icons of rock, of which he is one. But not seeing him, behind the keyboard and doing all the things he did for us, just standing kind of in the background playing the bass. It was different. So we hope to hear more from them. The guys are in their 70s, so unfortunately, all my favorite rock icons are beginning to pass away. Father Time is harvesting them and taking them home. So, but Rush is my good friend Sean, who got me interested in Rush years ago. He said somewhat condescendingly that Rush is the thinking man's band, and so whether you're a thinking man or woman or not, doesn't matter. If you like good music, listen to Rush. So, and I went way over on this segment, so forgive me for that. We're going to move on to the next thing. Well, you can tell when I get all passionate about something, I won't shut up. So, sorry I went overboard a little bit on the last segment. So, but let's talk about Jeeps. The Jeep Girl Mafia is a ladies Jeep enthusiast group that Susan is a part of, in addition to the North Texas Jeep Club. They were the ones that they bought a block of tickets to the Rangers game that we went to on Sunday, and the ladies took their picture in front of the Nolan Ryan statue in front of the front gate of the stadium. And but I wanted to talk about the Jeep community, and it's a lot of fun. It's really interesting. I see people involved with the Jeeps. They're quirky vehicles. I mean, they're all personalized. I mean, you see them going down the road. No two look exactly alike, and that everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people name their Jeeps. Susan's Name for hers is the Sea Goddess. It's a black Jeep that trimmed in blue. It's got a blue mermaid on the hood, and it's a nautical theme and concept. And you've got there's somebody here in the neighborhood. I see their Jeep over at the grocery store all the time, and it's green like an alien green, and I forget the name of it, but I mean you see all these Jeeps going down the road. No two look exactly alike. They may have different bumpers, different wheels and tires, um, different halo headlamps, um, grills, light guards, rock lights. I mean, it's real fun to be a part of that community. Um, they get together for different events. North Texas Jeep Club gets together monthly. Several times they'll meet over at Billy Bob's. We like going just to look at all the Jeeps. It's just so interesting the things that people do with their vehicles. And it gives Susan ideas for different mods and accessories that she can put on the Sea Goddess. And of course, Jeeps are always near and dear to my heart because Dad was a Jeep dealer for many years. Got the franchise back in the 70s when American Motors owned Jeep. Jeep, as a manufacturer, has gone through many hands and many iterations over the years, and since World War II, since 1941. So, and that they're a lot of fun to drive. If you enjoy they're very got a lot of low end torque because obviously you want to take them off road. You want to take them through the mud and so forth. So you're going to need that torque, but that's very enjoyable as well as they've got a tight turning radius so that they can get through the trees and so forth. They again you can remove the top, you can remove the doors. They come with hard tops, they come with soft tops, they come with bikini tops. I mean, it's just they're just really neat vehicles, and we really enjoy being part of that community. Oh, and also they're one of the few domestic vehicles that actually hold their value. Jeeps really do hold their value better than a lot of the traditional vehicles that you see on the road, more so than really any other domestic. So I could talk about Jeeps like I talk about Rush. I could just keep going and going, but we're going to have to bring this in for a landing here. So I'm going to move on, and we'll talk about that anon. Well, my friends, it's time to wrap things up again today. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I know this is, I keep saying it's a work in progress for me. Get used to the microphones and the technology and what works and what doesn't. And found out that I should be recording in mono instead of stereo. So hopefully that took care of some issues that we were having in the first couple of episodes. But I wanted to invite you to join us tomorrow for episode 4. We're going to talk more books, favorites of mine, and movie favorites. And, so hope to see or hope to have you in the audience then. So now on behalf of Elsa, our producer, Lily, our engineer, and Paul Springer of Finland, you have a great day. Stay out of trouble, eat your vegetables, and drink your bread. And as always, live long.